very much wrapped up with his hat on. As I'm saying, it's a very mild evening. There's a bit of a drizzle in the air as well. Iwobi moving this ball down the centre of the pitch towards Raul Jimenez. He's been brought down by Mark Guy, though, just at the halfway line. It's going to be a Fulham free kick. He pleading his innocence towards Paul Tierney, but he blew up quite early. It's a little 50-50 that was coming together between the two of them. Jimenez just buying the free kick of the Englishman, and Fulham do guys back restarted here with the Dutchman Kenny Tete, forcing it on towards his right-hand side with Harry Wilson. He's only got one option backwards. Little bounce pass between him and Kenny Tete. Trying to advance forward here is the former Bournemouth man. Back towards Joachim Andersen once more, switching the field of play out towards his left-hand side, but he's overhit that one there, Dane. And is going to be a City throw right in front of Pep Guardiola's technical area. Skipping tonight, Joachim Andersen, such a highly rated centre-half in my opinion. I think he's a really, really strong asset for Fulham. I was quite surprised when he left Crystal Palace and they were happy for him to go. Crystal Palace, who really have lost a number of players, haven't they, in recent years? Emerici Eze does spring to mind, and of course Mark Guy, who's just in possession on this left-hand side. He's probably been their biggest departure, as is Michael Olise as well, when you think back to the Frenchman departing. Of course, have brought in Brennan Johnson from Spurs and Jurgen Strand Larsen. We'll see how they get on tonight. They're kicking off a little bit later against Burnley. Scott Parker's side in desperate need of a win. Back here with Donnarumma and his 18-yard box. Ruben Diaz picking up once again on the edge of his own penalty area, set up on that right-hand side. Back here with Rodri once more. He plays it in towards Bernardo Silva. A bit of pressure behind him from Emil Smith-Rowe, but Bernardo Silva using his low centre of gravity to retain possession quite nicely. Rodri once more advancing forward, but again Fulham making it quite hard here for Manchester City to try and break them down at the minute. Two banks of four, virtually saying have a go at us, but we're going to set up a little bit higher because Samuel Chukwueze just putting in a little bit of a move forward, and basically on the halfway line at this point, and City having to play possession probably about 20-25 yards deeper than what they would like. Here is Nico O'Reilly with his low-cut socks on, as it's back here with Rodri. Switch of play on towards his right-hand side with Mateus Nunes, taking it down with the sole of his foot, cutting inside quite nicely, whipping it in towards that far post. A little bit too much whip on it there from the Portuguese. Nuri comes steaming in, he can't quite keep that in play. Will result in a Fulham goal kick. Elsewhere in the Premier League, no other goals to report from the game between Aston Villa and Brighton Hove Albion, or Nottingham Forest against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Big opportunity, isn't it, for Sean Dyche's side to pick up 3 points against bottom of the league Wolverhampton Wanderers, who feel they are recruiting for next season in the Championship, particularly with the signings they're making. Adam Armstrong, we know he's a bit of a talisman in the second division, and Hal Gomez as well, formerly of Manchester United. Back here with Bernd Leno inside of his 6-yard box. Calvin Bassey picks up this ball on this left-hand side, playing with gloves on but short sleeves. Little move inside there by the Nigerian, in towards Alex Iwobi, picks up the ball quite nicely, looking towards where Sander Berge is, tries to go long instead, giving away possession quite cheaply. Chance here for Erling Haaland driving forward. Haaland gets the shot away. Joachim Andersen comes in to block the ball, and we're going to have our first corner of the game on that right-hand side. All came from Alex Iwobi, trying to be a little bit too adventurous. He tried to play a looping ball towards this left-hand side, where Raul Jimenez was making a little inverted run forward. He went for the pass and Nunez read it, intercepted quite nicely. They got the ball forward quite quickly, the Guardiola's side, played it in towards Erling Haaland, who didn't even have a second thought about it. He wanted that ball outside of his left foot, trying to whip it in towards the far corner. Anderson read it, got in the block, resulting corner then coming from Phil Foden. Going to be the in-swinging delivery from the Englishman, 2 arms up, going through his tactics, waiting for his players to make a move. Foden's delivery in towards the far post, beyond the far post, is a high delivery. Gay's got there. Nico O'Reilly tries to help it on its way. Fulham are pleading that there should be a free kick over there at the far post, but Paul Tierney, the man in the middle, not deeming that a free kick or a foul nonetheless. I mean, it was a looping ball in by Foden. I mean, the far post is probably a bit of a understatement for that. He sent it all the way to the back. Gay got there, and O'Reilly does well to win this resulting corner. Taken short then towards Ryan Aït-Nouri, back towards Bernardo Silva on this left-hand side. He's got no room for a cross as Chukwueze has come over to force him backwards. Bernardo Silva now towards the edge of the penalty area. Smith-Rowe cuts out. Foden deflects it just over the top of the crossbar. Leno was beaten, but for the German's sake, it's just gone wide of the post. It was a ball in by Bernardo Silva. Smith-Rowe went to go and deal with it. His touch let him down. It set it up basically towards Phil Foden. He got some good contact on the volley, taking a wicked deflection off of Joachim Andersen, and to Bernd Leno's delight, just the wrong side of the post. City's third corner then in a matter of 3 minutes. It's going to be Phil Foden once again to whip this one in towards the penalty area. Outswing and delivery this time from Foden. Just the one arm up. Ruben Diaz, Mark Gee and Erling Haaland trying to make themselves a bit of a nuisance. Ball comes in then, nearly towards where Ruben Diaz is. On the volley by Rodri, and that's an effort he won't want to see back. Hasn't even gone out for a goal kick, is out for a throw-on. They're going to try and box him in here, City. Right in front of them Fulham fans who really did make it be known towards Rodri that wasn't the best of efforts of goal. I mean, he was falling towards his weaker foot, but for a man that has won the Ballon d'Or, you'd expect a little bit better. I know he's a holding midfielder, but he's caught it on the volley. He's leaning back, and it's like I say, it's not an effort that he's going to want to see back. Kenny Tete's over then to go and take this throw on, launching this one down the line. So really poor throw on there by Kenny Tete. Fortunately, he's fallen towards Alex Iwobi. Switched out towards Samuel Chukwueze out on this left-hand side. The Nigerian with so much space to go and operate into. He's opting to go backwards though towards Iwobi, who's now come over to support his compatriot. Joachim Andersen in possession once again. Kenny Tete back towards Andersen, heavily involved in these opening 10 minutes so far. The Fulham captain Tete forcing this one down the line towards Raul Jimenez, taking it down his chest as Emil Smith-Rowe tries to switch the field of play. He does pick up this loose ball, but easily intercepted there by Erling Haaland. Here is Rodri, is Nico O'Reilly trying to force it in towards the Norwegian. It's gone all the way towards Phil Foden, chancing for Manchester City. They've got a few men over here, back towards Rodri, but Fulham just getting enough numbers back to slow the possession down momentarily. Here is Bernardo Silva once again. 10 minutes played, still 0-0. Back towards Mateus Nunes, cutting it in towards that 6-yard box, falling towards Phil Foden. No room for the shot for the first time, but then the second time, it's a great effort, but a great save as well by Bernd Leno. Stood his ground really well there, the man between the sticks, and he got down nicely. Strong save with his left hand. It was good play by Mateus Nunes, and Foden took his time, opted out of the strike on his stronger left foot, set it himself on his right, and tried to roll it in towards the bottom right corner, but he didn't quite get the accuracy that he wanted on it. He gave Bernd Leno a chance, and the goalkeeper took it. Really, really good save, held it as well. Best chance of the game so far, falling towards Phil Foden, denied there by the former Arsenal man, Bernd Leno. Here is Ryan Aït-Nouri, playing it in towards Nico O'Reilly, but it is all Man City traffic. We've barely seen Donnarumma. The Italian is getting a little bit cold here in this chilly Manchester evening. Rodri now switching out towards his right-hand side once more with Mateus Nunes. The Portuguese moving forward. He's got Foden towards his left, hops backwards towards Ruben Diaz. First time ball in towards Rodri, looking towards where Antoine Semenyo is. We've barely seen anything from Semenyo so far. Here is Aït-Nouri driving forward, the Algerian. No room for a cross, opting to go backwards. He's got Rodri towards his right, uses Mark Gee instead. Here is Rodri once more, the Spaniard chipping in towards that far post. Nunes first time. Good save once again by Bernd Leno. Most lively man at the minute, but he was offside, Mateus Nunes, from that initial chip over the top, but Fulham were asleep there. They were lucky that the linesman put his flag up, because Raul Jimenez just completely peeled off the back of him. Jimenez was nowhere to be seen. Haaland potentially feeling that the ball should have been squared towards him. Nunes took it on first time, and it was a good save in the end there by Bernd Leno. But nevertheless, for Fulham's sake, that the flag was up, they can resume from the free kick. They're taking their time over it as well. Bernd Leno they were going back and forth between Leno and Calvin Bassey. Will be Leno to get us underway. No goals to report so far across these Premier League fixtures. Of course, it was over fixtures yesterday evening, as we were saying earlier. Manchester United coming from behind to draw 1-1 against West Ham United. Benjamin Šeško with the goal in the 96th minute. Newcastle United won 2-1 against Tottenham Hotspur, which did see Thomas Frank be sacked today as Spurs boss. Everton, who were 1-0 up, and then 2 goals in 3 minutes in the second half, see Bournemouth win there in Merseyside, and Chelsea, who were 2-0 up against Leeds United, and 2 goals in 6 minutes of the second half, saw Leeds United, and a major Cole Palmer miss, wasn't it, as well at the very end, saw Leeds United see it out and pick up a valuable point for Daniel Farke's side. Here at the Etihad Stadium so far, City have had 70% of possession and 5 attempts on goal, but we're still goalless so far. Bernardo Silva in possession on the halfway line, moving it forward towards the Spaniard Rodri, who's so calm and composed in possession, isn't he? Mark Gee back towards Rodri once again. Little reversal ball in towards Nico O'Reilly. As Bernardo Silva just getting crowded out here by Sander Berg, and Fulham have an opportunity to bring this ball away. Chukwueze back towards where Ryan Sessegnon is, and Calvin Bassey can pick up this loose ball. Fulham can't be doing that though, because Chukwueze's picked it up out on this far left-hand side, and they've played 3 backwards passes towards Bernd Leno, then tried to play their way out from the back, and Bassi's just knocked it into touch, and it is going to be a City throw-on, but Pep Guardiola will be licking his lips at the way Fulham just tried to move the ball forward there, because Chukwueze had an opportunity. Mateus Nunes mentioned this earlier, how I was looking forward to seeing how Chukwueze takes his approach. Mateus Nunes was about 5-10 yards in front. Chukwueze did have half an opportunity to drive into some space. He opts to go backwards, and then they just give up possession so cheaply. Nuri coming forward here as O'Reilly does pick up this loose ball inside of the penalty area, trying to find a way past Joachim Andersen, but it has picked up here by Bernd Leno in the safe hands here of the German. He plays it out towards Cessignon on this left-hand side as he's been forced to drill one down towards Chukwueze, but again he gives away possession cheaply. Here is Bernardo Silva now. Good chance here for Manchester City. O'Reilly's effort, and it's a poor effort there by the Englishman, just leaning back as he took on the shot. Pep Guardiola really putting a face there. He had better options in front of him, O'Reilly. It was a shooting opportunity, don't get me wrong, but I mean, he's completely scuffed his effort. He's smashed it wide left. Guardiola really letting out the side, making his feelings be clear that that was not the effort that he was hoping for. Bernd Leno pumping this one down the middle of the pitch towards where Jimenez is. Gay does win the initial ball. Mateus Nunes brings it down on his chest. He's got pressure behind him by Emil Smith-Rowe, and we're going to see Gianluigi Donnarumma for one of the few times in this contest so far. If you're just joining us, you're listening to live audio coverage of Manchester City against Fulham on this rather miserable evening here at the Etihad Stadium. We're hoping that the football can really liven things up a little bit other than the Manchester dribbles. 15 minutes played so far, we are goalless. Here is Antoine Semenyo moving this ball in towards where Ruben Diaz is, trying to drive this ball forward on this right-hand side, back towards where Rodri is, switch and play out towards Mateus Nunes as Phil Foden makes an inverted lapping run, back towards Ruben Diaz once again. Barely seen it. I think possession stats must be, it could be 80-20 now. Fulham barely seen any of the ball so far. Switch out towards Nuri, lovely takedown on his chest, trying to fend off the challenges coming in from Kenny Tete, who is very close here towards the Algerian, and Nuri does give away possession. He's feeling that there should be a free kick. He's looking straight towards Paultini. Semenyo gets in the block, and it will result in a Fulham goal kick. Nuri is really having to go at Paultini here, because he has a case, to be honest. Kenny Tete did go up a little bit close to him, and he is pulling his shirt all over the place. Maybe he could be a little bit stronger. Pep Guardiola has come over to speak towards our fourth official, Tom Neild, who of course does have access towards the referee's ear. Here is Sanderberg out on this far right-hand side. Fulham are so deep inside of their half. City are just relentless with their press. Leno in towards his former Arsenal teammate of Iwobi. Little triangle between the three of them. Back towards where Joachim Andersen is. Here is Bernd Leno once more. They're desperately trying to play out from the back, but the German has no other option but to pump this ball long, and it's going to come straight back towards him as Ruben Diaz picks up this loose ball on the halfway line. Of course, Fulham coming into this game on the back of back-to-back defeats, looking to try and turn around their form. They've had a half-decent campaign, you have to say, under Marco Silva, but they did have a little spell where they were looking towards the top six as well. Sorry, they were in 7th place. They're still hunting that ground because, of course, it's so tight in the Premier League. A win tonight will rise them up into 8th place, of course, depending on how other results do go elsewhere. They'll put them just 1 point behind their West London neighbours of Brentford and also Liverpool, who are in action later on, making the trip up to the northeast to face Sunderland, who haven't lost at home all season. Tough game there for Arne Slot's side as Ruben Diaz has pumped this ball forward towards Antoine Semenyo, but can't generate any spin on the ball because the ball is just going to skid out immediately with the wet weather that we're having to endure here at the moment. But Leno can get us back resumed with a goal kick as Kenny Tete just coming deeper to pick up this ball. Got shot towards Calvin Bassey. Here is Leno once more. Over towards Calvin Bassey, and the Nigerian does have a little bit of room to go and operate in. Jimenez, pressure behind him from Mark Gee, forced all the way back to Bassey, and here is Leno once more. Honestly, Leno, he'll be up there for touches for Fulham. He's had a lot of the ball so far, which is never a good sign. They've got to start playing with the ball higher up the field. Here is Jimenez, who's come so deep to try and get himself in possession. Bassey, little flick towards him. Sanderberg trying to find a way past Rodri. Sessegnon plays a blind ball, and it's intercepted by O'Reilly. Sessegnon does make amends though. Bassey now driving forward, trying to find himself into a little bit of room, skipping past 2 or 3 challenges. Does slip though, and give away possession towards Bernardo Silva. Long ball played forward in towards where Bassi has left that vacant space. Kenny Tete is there to go and intervene. And between him and Joachim Andersen, they've done excellently well there, the Fulham defenders. Just noticed that their centre-half did go venturing forward. Tried a little run there, Calvin Bassi. Got caught out when he slid, and they just sweeped around. Joachim Andersen was there to go and cover the vacant space, and Kenny Tete came tucked in to go and support Joachim Andersen. Still danger not averted though. Played in towards where Anton Semenyo is. There's Andersen again. They're defending really, really well at the minute here, Fulham. Harry Wilson picks up this ball on this right-hand side. You're just feeling a little bit of a momentum swift just at the moment. Fulham have managed this wave and onslaught that Man City have been putting on them. They've dealt with it quite well. They've had to sit in and bide their time. But now Bernd Leno has a lot more time on the ball, and it does give Fulham the opportunity to try and advance forward in a bit more of a methodical process. Here is Alex Iwobi on this left-hand side. Sessegnon now trying to find where Chukwueze is giving chase, but the Nigerian has just ventured into an offside position. It will be a City free kick just on the halfway line. Rather than being forced to go forward quickly and pump this ball long, there was an opportunity there where Bernd Leno just put his foot on the ball and slowed things down a little bit. And they were able to string 4 or 5 passes together, advance towards the halfway line. Chukwueze just getting caught offside. City looking to try and rebuild their momentum once again. Here with Bernardo Silva on this right-hand side, back towards his Portuguese teammate Ruben Diaz. Switch out towards Bernardo Silva once more, cutting inside on that left foot of his. We've seen him do that move dozens of times throughout the hundreds of times throughout the years. Here is Ruben Diaz once again with 20 minutes played across the 3 out of the 5 games this evening in the Premier League. Still no goals to report from. Here is Rodri once more on the halfway line, over towards Nico O'Reilly. He's gone back towards Mark Gee, and he can play back towards the City youngster O'Reilly. Towards Ruben Diaz once again. Fulham happy to sit in with their 2 banks of 4 and contain the Man City press that is being put on. Mateus Nunes does take over, the former Wolverhampton Wanderers man, who are currently goalless against Nottingham Forest. Rob Edwards' side looking to try and put some sort of run together. Of course, they've had a half-decent spell as of late, haven't they, Wolverhampton Wanderers, towards the back end of this campaign for... a campaign really to forget. Here is Mark Gee out on this left-hand side. Ryan Aït-Nouri does pick up this loose ball again, of course, formerly of Wolves, Bernardo Silva, and now Fulham starting to grow in confidence a little bit. Mark Gee trying to drive forward, but in terms of that confidence, they've just left themselves quite exposed here. Here is Phil Foden now on this right-hand side, but he's given away possession towards Ryan Sessegnon. In terms of that confidence, it's just because they're advancing a little bit higher up the pitch, and they're not going into their shell at all here, Fulham. Despite this dominant display we've seen from City in up until minute 15, we're now at minute 21, and they're just starting to play with the ball a little bit more. And when they're in their defensive press, they're trying to advance a little bit further forward. Here is Nico O'Reilly then trying a shot from distance for the second time, and for the second time he's blazed it in towards the sand. I think Pep Guardiola might have a little word with his youngster. I know he's been advanced into this midfield position, and he's keen to get himself on the score sheet, but if he keeps on having shot from distance, I think Marco Silva will be welcoming that as the game does go on. Here is Bernd Leno over towards Calvin Bassi, his left centre-half, as Jimenez does bring this ball down. Poor though there by the Mexican. Here is Erling Haaland trying to do a little chip ball forward as Kenny Tete is there to go and intervene. Smith Rowe now past the halfway line. He's got Harry Wilson towards his left. Couldn't quite find a passing angle to force it on towards the Welshman. Back here with Joachim Andersen with his bright red boots on. Here is Sandberg once again. Former Sheffield United man. Iwobi does take over. I tell you what, in terms of the player that really is trying to link things up here at the moment, it really is Alex Iwobi. He is just an engine in the midfield, just trying to get the attackers involved in with the midfield and defence. Lovely bit of hollow play here by Jimenez. Chukwueze in towards Man City's defensive third, plays it in towards Harry Wilson. Little flick pass in towards Alex Iwobi. Driving forward now as a Nigerian. Alex Iwobi on towards his left foot, gets the shot away, blocking from Ruben Diaz as complaints are offside, but the flag has stayed down, and Fulham do have their first corner of the game. Really nice bit of play there by Alex Iwobi, who I was just saying, a lot of it is coming through him. Ball's played on towards this left-hand side, courtesy of a nice bit of Raul Jimenez play. Harry Wilson hurled it up, played it back towards Iwobi. Wilson did make a decent initial run, but then did strain towards a offside position. Iwobi came driving forward, got the shot away on towards his left foot. Ruben Diaz blocked off any kind of room for a half-decent strike, but it has resulted in a corner then. The first one of the game. Wilson's over this one then. It's going to be the outswing and delivery. Iwobi has taken over instead. He's trying to beat the first man, headed away by Phil Foden. Here is Sessegnon back towards Iwobi once more. He's got Harry Wilson behind him, using the Welshman. Wilson whipping this one in towards that far post, but there is the big Italian frame of Donnarumma, who at the second attempt eventually did get there, feeling there was a foul by Calvin Bassey on the European Championship winning goalkeeper. And eventually they do take away with it. Of course, the Euros in 2021. He was instrumental, wasn't he, in that when it was here in England. Over here with Ryan Aït-Nouri then on this left-hand side. Back towards Mark Guy, trying to drive forward. We're immediately back up the Fulham end. Rodri trying to flick it on towards where Matheus Nunes is. Decent bit of space here for Nunes. Balling towards where Haaland is. Falling towards Semenyo from close range. And he is able to convert and give City the lead. Virtually with the easiest touch that he'll ever have. It was a complete mix-up there at the back for Fulham, trying to clear their lines from the Nunez cross. But Antoine Semenyo, who settled into life here at the Etihad like duck to water, able to convert home from close range. And it's Manchester City 1, Fulham 0. Such a lovely little instinctive finish there from the former Bournemouth man. It's a decent ball in by Matheus Nunes, but they just put it all wrong at the far post, Fulham. I've been saying how well they have been doing defensively, but not there. Sandberg went to clear. He didn't even realise it was going towards him. And Semenyo was alert. No chance for Bernd Leno at all. And it's the easiest task you'll have in the world, converting from close range. I'm maybe doing a little bit of injustice there for Antoine Semenyo. He's had to get on the stretch and make sure he can convert from distance. He's now he's still the third top scorer in the Premier League, isn't he? This season, he's certainly having a campaign to remember, just behind Igor Thiago and his striker Erling Haaland. Pep Guardiola celebrates. Antoine Semenyo celebrates in the rain. And as it stands, Man City will be going 3 points behind Arsenal. Of course, still a lot of football to be played. Great finish there by the Ghanaian. Antoine Semenyo makes it 1-0 to Manchester City here on the 9. Our first goal of the rest of the Premier League fixtures so far this evening. Still goalless between Aston Villa, Brighton, Nottingham Forest, Wolves and Crystal Palace, Burnley, who are 10 minutes behind all of us. And don't forget as well, Sunderland versus Liverpool still to come. They'll kick off when we head into half-time of this fixture. Emile Smith-Rowe now on this right-hand side. Kenny Tete picking up the loose ball, the Dutchman, in towards Sandberg, who don't want to see the repeats of that goal. I mean, the ball's been played over, and I think he's expecting either Joachim Andersen or Tete to go and deal with it, and he's just kind of like shrugged his head down and it's hit his shoulder, and it's just involuntarily just deflected straight towards where Semenyo, who is alert as you'd expect him to be, to convert home from close range. But I tell you what, Sandberg will be absolutely frustrated with himself because of the way that has gone in, because if he keeps an eye on the ball, all he's got to do is a simple little flick away and head it out of danger. But he's headed it straight into danger, and has resulted in the opening goal of this contest. Back here with Gianluigi Donnarumma then, playing this ball down the middle of the pitch towards Rodri, feeding it on towards Mark Guy, the Englishman driving forward, luring in the challenge from Raul Jimenez, and City now starting to get a bit ahead of steam here. Aït-Nouri's got a lot of room to go and venture into, opts out of the pass towards Nico O'Reilly, and he's just assessed the situation in front of him, realised there wasn't enough light blue shirts in front of him. He's opted to go backwards instead. Here with Ruben Diaz once again over on this right-hand side. Nunez does take over, ball down the line towards Phil Foden, pressure behind him from Calvin Bassey, who's forcing the Englishman back. Foden's done very, very well to retain possession. Here with Bernardo Silva once more, and slick one-touch, intricate play here as back in possession once more with Mark Guy. Goal to tell you about at Selhurst Park. Jürgen Strand-Larsen has got his first in Crystal Palace colours, 1-0 against Burnley. That will be a big result over there for Oliver Glasner's side. Here is Bernardo Silva once again, back towards where Matheus Nunes is, Portuguese to Portuguese, and love a little 1-2 between the two of them. Here is Phil Foden once more, trying to create a little bit of room for himself on this far right-hand side, but Fulham, who are in that two banks of four, are so deep at the minute that the 4-4-2 has almost become virtually 6-2-2 because of how deep Harry Wilson and Alex Iwobi were having to play there. Here is Rodri once more. Switch of play out towards his right-hand side with Bernardo Silva, taking it down his chest. Little flick on towards Matheus Nunes. Pressure behind him from Alex Iwobi. Here is Bernardo Silva once more. Bernardo Silva looking for that underlapping run of Phil Foden, but there is Ryan Sessegnon to put that one into touch over on that far left-hand side. Really positive display here so far from Manchester City. If you're just joining us, 1-0 at the minute to Pep Guardiola's side. Just 4 minutes ago, it was Antoine Semenyo that gave the home side the lead. Don't write Fulham off just yet, though. They've been pretty good in the last 5 minutes up to that goal. But it was a slick counter-attacking move and a nice little ball into it by Matheus Nunes. And an instinctive finish by Antoine Semenyo, pouncing on the mistake there by Sander Berge, the former Sheffield United man. Here is Kenny Tete there on this right-hand side. Nouri just giving away possession very, very cheaply. Ball switched over towards the Algerian. He tried to take it down on the sole of his foot and completely missed it actually in the end. Put him throw on. Here is Sessegnon then on this left-hand side. Iwobi with a reversal ball in towards Chukwueze. Ruben Diaz is all over the back of him. Sessegnon, little ball in towards Alex Iwobi. Lovely bit of play there by the Nigerian. Jimenez trying to play in towards Emile Smith-Rowe. Forced it on towards Harry Wilson. Good chance here for Fulham. Harry Wilson now, he's just getting it wrong for a moment. Wilson strike! There's a great save though by Donnarumma, and it's cleared away by Nouri. Best chance of the game for Fulham. He got it wrong just for a moment. He tried to play a little ball in towards Emile Smith-Rowe. Again, he got a little touch. It failed quite nicely though. Back towards Harry Wilson, trying to drill it in towards the bottom left corner. Donnarumma got down quite nicely. It was a routine stop in the end for him. But best chance of the game for Fulham coming towards Harry Wilson. Switch up now towards his left-hand side now with Chukwueze. Doing really, really well to keep the ball in play and cut inside. Here goes Chukwueze now, trying to draw the free kick from Phil Foden, but the Englishman does do well. Back towards Bernardo Silva. Pressure here from Fulham, trying to make a mistake here from the citizens, but Matheus Nunes does done really well and plays it in towards Erling Haaland. He's been brought down by Joachim Andersen. Think there'll be a yellow card there for the Dane. Antoine Semenyo driving forward now, 3-on-3 for the home side. Semenyo's ball in towards Nico O'Reilly. What a beautiful finish that is! And at the third time of asking for Nico O'Reilly, who's been really having a go in this first half, he gets himself on the score sheet. Slick counter-attacking football by Manchester City, and half an hour played. They've doubled their advantage. It's City 2, Fulham 0. Semenyo with a golden assist this time, and it's a beautiful finish by Nico O'Reilly. Just lifts it over Bernd Leno. You wouldn't think he's this young, would you? Just a young head, such an old head, sorry, on young shoulders. It was such a nice attacking move. Haaland played it in towards Nico O'Reilly, and Semenyo just waited for the inverted lapping run, and he just waited for Bernd Leno to go low, and he just lifted it. It's such a delicate little finish on his stronger left foot, over the top of the German, in towards the top right corner. Great little bit of play by Antoine Semenyo as well, because he just held it up. He just delayed, waiting for the run to come. The run did arrive, and the weight of pass is absolutely brilliant. O'Reilly doesn't even have to break his stride, just steady himself. It is just class book, absolutely perfect counter-attacking move. Pep Guardiola celebrates. He really enjoyed that one. Immediately going over towards where Phil Foden went to go and celebrate with his manager. And Marco Silva, has gone from bad to worse for him inside 6 minutes. Fulham, who were keeping themselves in the game quite nicely, now have an absolute mountain to climb. And Harry Wilson, you've got to feel for him as well, because he had the opportunity to make it 1-1 virtually 2 minutes before that. And then that counter-attacking move resulted in that O'Reilly goal. Just a reminder as well, Joachim Andersen did get booked for that challenge on Erling Haaland. I think Paultini's got that absolutely spot on. He went steaming in on the Norwegian, and the yellow card, I believe, is the right decision. Switcher played then by Ruben Diaz over towards his left-hand side. Kenny Tete is there to go and intervene. Bernardo Silva now on this left-hand flank. Little bounce pass here with the goal scorer, Nico O'Reilly, who did say at the very start of the coverage, I'm excited to see what he can do in a central midfield. He really made such an attacking run there. It was a glorious finish, because two shots before that, both from virtually 25 yards out, both of them, they were very, very poor efforts from him. But we know he's got that capability in front of goal with the finish that we just saw there produced. In towards Phil Foden now, trying to find a little 1-2 between him and Erling Haaland, but there is Calvin Bassey to go and intervene. Sessegnon does give away possession, but Jimenez is there over to go and intervene. Sessegnon once more, back towards Calvin Bassey, and Bernd Leno is going to be forced to pump this one long. Poor ball though by Bernd Leno, as Rodri tries to play it in towards his right-hand side. It's O'Reilly once again, trying to put it in towards that bottom right corner. Took a little deflection, and it's going to be a City corner out towards this far right-hand side. Burnt then, I don't know what he's doing there. He's trying to pump it long with his left foot. There's complaints for a handball here for a potential penalty. It's hit Joachim Andersen. Ooh, it's one of them. I don't know. I don't think it is. I mean, it's hit the top of his right shoulder. He's tried to put his arm away, Joachim Andersen, but it's one of them. Our VAR tonight is Neil Davies, who's already wiped it away. Yeah, I think he's got that spot on. I don't think it was a penalty. No penalty given. Resulting corner then from Phil Foden in towards this far post. Riley's arriving again. Guys, he really wants to get himself on the score sheet. You wouldn't think Erling Haaland and Antoine Semenyo are the top scorers in the league, to be honest. You'd think it would be Nico O'Reilly, the amount of chances he's getting himself into. I mean, Haaland's got 20 goals for the season. Antoine Semenyo now on 13. O'Reilly's going to be looking to try and chase them at this point. Here is Rodri then on the halfway line. Fulham back in their 2 backs of 4. Man City in possession once again. Let's quickly remind you what else has happened in the Premier League so far. Villa 0-0 against Brighton Hove Albion at Villa Park. As you're hearing here, City are 2-0 to the good against Fulham. Antoine Semenyo opened up the scoring on minute 24, and then 6 minutes later he provided Nico O'Reilly to get himself on the score sheet tonight. Nottingham Forest are currently drawing against Wolverhampton Wanderers as well, 0-0 in that game, and Jürgen Strand-Larsen's got his first goal in Crystal Palace colours against Burnley, 1-0 in that contest. Back here at the Etihad Stadium, here with City against Fulham, as Fulham looking to try and move this ball forward here with Emil Smith-Rowe. There is Mateus Nunes to go and intervene. Bernardo Silva with a little thick, as Iwobi is there to go and read that pass, plays it in towards the central midfield partner of Sanderberg. Harry Wilson desperately trying to play this ball forward. They just can't keep possession, Fulham. It's just relentless City pressure. The second they get themselves on the ball and under control, there's at least 2 light blue shirts around them. Harry Wilson's finally got himself in towards a little bit of space, trying to find that ball forward towards Raul Jimenez, but Ruben Diaz is there to go and intervene. 10 minutes to go of this first half. That was the entertaining game, really. City really showing their dominance. As it stands, they'll go 3 points behind Arsenal, who do travel to the GTEC Community Stadium tomorrow, just off of the M4 for Unai Emery's side. Desperately trying to keep that 6-point buffer between them and Manchester City, up against a Keith Andrews side who are really enjoying their football at the moment, aren't they? Brentford, 39 points that they find themselves in. Fantastic win in their previous fixture against Newcastle United, winning 3-2, travelling up to the north-east. It was a great performance, wasn't it, by Dango Atara. Here with Mark Guéhi here, over on this far left-hand side. The Englishman looking to try and move this reversal ball forward in towards Rodri. He plays it high in towards Ryan Nuri's chest, brings it down nicely there, the former Wolves man, and Ruben Diaz can enjoy possession on the halfway line. It'll be interesting to see what kind of approach Marco Silva does take in the second half. Just a free kick here. Raul Jimenez just bringing down Ruben Diaz. In terms of options he's got to bring on, I mean, Oscar Bob immediately is the obvious option in terms of more attacking prowess. Certainly knows these City defenders, or will know their weak links too. Rodrigo Muniz potentially as well for a striker kind of option, or potentially Josh King. We know he likes to try and advance forward as well. There's a VAR check here actually for a potential penalty for Manchester City. It was something way ago inside of the penalty area. Emil Smith-Rowe was just holding Mark Guéhi, and there was also a pull on Antoine Semenyo's hair. It's actually, they're really having a look at this one. Kenny Tete just pulling Antoine Semenyo's hair. So our VAR tonight is Neil Davies. I mean, no one even saw this in real time. They're having to let play go on. I would have been really surprised if they sent off Kenny Tete for that. I mean, we've seen it in the past, particularly, but I mean, Mark Cucurella is the obvious outlet, isn't it, for a man that gets his hair pulled? I mean, there was a slight little tug by Kenny Tete on Antoine Semenyo, but the Ghanaian didn't complain, and no one in light blue or anybody in the ground complained. But it's a spot by Neil Davies. There was a long little VAR check there just for a moment, but play does continue. Paul Tierney having the word in his ear that they're not going to give a penalty or send off Kenny Tete. That would, for me, would have been ridiculously harsh if that was given. VAR, I think, coming to the right conclusion there. Here is Mark Guéhi then, in towards Nico O'Reilly, as Ryan Nuri does take over. It took me a couple of minutes. It took me a couple of spots just to spot it. I initially thought it was for Smith-Rowe holding Mark Guéhi, and saw the hair pull, but I mean, nothing in it. Harry Wilson, reversal ball in towards Smith Rowe, intervened by Mark Gee. Foden now driving forward, the Englishman with some real space, trying to roll it through in towards Antoine Semenyo, just over-hitting his pass. The Ghanaian couldn't quite get there. It was a good play there by Phil Foden, driving forward, really showing his long strides, getting himself into a nice bit of space, trying to play that a little tucked-in ball towards Antoine Semenyo on this left-hand side, but it was just slightly over-hit there by the Englishman. Yeah, Semenyo couldn't keep it in play. Will be a Fulham goal kick to get things resumed right behind where this way end our base, who have been rather muted so far in this first half. It's been a hard watch for them, all travelling up from West London, as Sanderberg does give away possession in the middle of the park. Here is Aït-Nouri driving forward. Foden once again. Erling Haaland getting the shot away. Oh, it's wonderful. It's absolutely gorgeous by Erling Haaland. Wonderful finish into the bottom right corner out of nothing. And City are 3 to the good against Fulham. And you've got to feel it's game, set, match already. Because, I mean, I said it was a mountain to climb at 2-0. I mean, it's just got to Everest sized now, hasn't it, at 3. I mean, Foden's ball in towards Erling Haaland. He takes it out of his left foot, and it's such a good finish. He's a good 20-25 yards out, as he's just guided it in towards the bottom right corner. You can see why he's the best striker in the world. Sanderberg, his Norwegian teammate, well, for a country level, of course, tried to dribble it away. It was intervened, played in towards Phil Foden, and he can't even get close to him. The second he's got that ball at his left foot, he gets it out of his feet so quickly, doesn't even look up at where the goal is. He just knows the frame, and he's just guided it in towards the bottom right corner. It's such a lovely little finish through the legs of Calvin Bassey. Bernardo's gone to ground. He's got no chance in getting there at all. The former Dortmund man getting himself on the score sheet. Goal number 21, and that will be a goal that Igor Thiago won't be welcoming. Of course, Erling Haaland still keeping that little 4-goal deficit at the top of the top goal scorers tally. And will mean Man City have a 3-goal cushion against Fulham now. We've just ticked over to minute 40. Joachim Andersen is voicing his complaints to Paul Tierney. He does need to be a little bit careful. He felt there was a foul on Sanderberg. There was no foul at all, in my opinion. As he does need to be careful. He's already on a yellow card for that earlier challenge of the goal scorer, Erling Haaland. It really doesn't feel for these Fulham supporters that travelled up from West London to go and watch this game. A good friend of mine did go and see the fixture against Craven Cottage to describe his mood after it. He told me he was absolutely devastated, and that's what a lot of the Fulham supporters were as well after that loss against Everton. It's just gone a little bit pear-shaped, hasn't it, for Marco Silva's side as of late, losing back-to-back fixtures coming into this one. And now they find themselves 3 goals behind with 50 minutes to play, 5 minutes to go before half-time. I anticipate maybe 2 minutes of stoppage time. And they've got a real mountain to climb. Here is Jimenez driving forward. Bernardo Silva does bring him down. It will be a yellow card here as well for the Portuguese. Complaining for initial offside in the build-up, but Bernardo Silva just bringing down the Mexican Raul Jimenez, and maybe a little bit harsh. He's smiling away at it, is Bernardo Silva. Did go sliding in trying to win possession. Well, maybe Paul Tierney does have a case. You can maybe weigh it up either way. Nevertheless, Paul Tierney deeming that going to be a yellow card. Next one in his book to join Joachim Andersen, who's in possession now inside of his own half. Switching it on towards his left-hand side for Alex Iwobi, who's been the best player so far in the away shirt colours. Gee tries to clear. Poor clearance there, though, by Mark Gee. Here comes Harry Wilson. Reversal ball in towards Jimenez. Tries to play it in towards Emil Smith-Rowe. And agonisingly, it just escapes from the Englishman. And dribbles out for a Man City goal kick. It's a huge opportunity to reduce the deficit to 2. Lovely little reversal ball played by Harry Wilson, pouncing on Mark Gee's poor clearance. Jimenez made the great little run. He was miles onside. It just needed a little bit less, or maybe Smith-Rowe could maybe anticipate it a little bit better. Either way, between the two of them, they've messed up the chance, and it really should be 3-1. Smith-Rowe shakes his head. Former Arsenal man would have done them a world of favours if they go in at 3-2, or 3-1, sorry, just at a 2-goal deficit, but to no avail so far. Andersen trying to play this ball in towards Sessegnon. as Fulham trying to end the half on a positive note. Sanderberg does bring down Nico O'Reilly though. Foden is complaining. Feel there should be a yellow card dished out here for the Norwegian, and I think Foden really does have a point, but Paulzini is happy to keep his cards in his pocket. Foden even looking towards a full visual thumbnail that he's going to potentially say something. I think they've got a point really, because they did have a little counter-attacking move there. Did Manchester City. O'Reilly still sorting out his shin pad on that challenge, but Paulzini keeping his cards in his pocket for now. 3 minutes to play of this first half. Man City 3, Fulham 0. We'll give you a little rundown of how this first half has panned out, as well as what else has happened in the Premier League so far this evening. 4 goals to report so far, 3 of them in this game. Here comes Foden now, driving forward on this right-hand side, looking to try and find that 4th goal of the evening. Complaints for a handball. Mateus Nunes is convinced that there was a handball on Calvin Bassey, I think. Sessegnon pumps this ball forward, intervened though by Rodri. Here goes Sanderberg once again, putting in a strong challenge. Haaland picks up this loose ball, back towards Rodri once more, chipping one over the top towards Haaland, trying to take it on the volley. Sessegnon is there to go and intervene. VAR, Neil Davis will be having a look at this one. The shot came in from Phil Foden, took a deflection off Joachim Andersen, and it hits the arm off of Calvin Bassey, but he's got no time to react. It's never ever a penalty. Bassey's just literally running. You can't even see where that ball was potentially going to land, and I think absolutely that no penalty going to be given. Foden now driving forward out towards this left-hand side with Nico O'Reilly, trying to play this ball backwards, but there is Smith Rowe to go and intervene. Kenny Tete now trying to play the little reversible one towards Emil Smith Rowe. The Englishman driving forward, trying to switch the field of play out towards Chukwueze, but there is Mateus Nunes to go and intervene. Only as far as Harry Wilson, who's got absolutely no black shirts in front of him, trying to give him a little bit of support. Sessegnon making a little bit of a loose run forward. Here is Iwobi now. Again, everything coming through the Nigerian side. Switch of play out towards his former Arsenal teammate of Emil Smith Rowe. Kenny Tete makes the underlapping run. Intervened though by Joachim Andersen. He's the captain for Fulham, playing it in towards Kenny Tete now. Here is Chukwueze just swapping wings for a moment with Harry Wilson. Again, Fulham looking to try and find that elusive goal. Then towards Emil Smith Rowe. Back towards Kenny Tete. His ball goes in towards that far post. Jimenez gets the header. Complaints for a shove in the back by Jimenez on Mateus Nunes. Referee not interested. Gianluigi Donnarumma makes the save. Tries to get us going quickly, but does put that ball into touch. It will be a Fulham throw on just on the halfway line. Goal again to tell you about at Selhurst Park, and Jurgen Strand Larsen has got a brace now. 2 goals there for Crystal Palace against Burnley. 2-0 for Oliver Glasner's side against Scott Parker's. Here is Chukwueze now trying to find a little bit of room. It does get the shot away, but it's high and wide, way off target in the end for Chukwueze, who, I'll be honest, I was really looking forward to seeing him in this first half, but he's relatively underperformed. There's a lot of the other Fulham players haven't done so far today. Actually, the VAR, actually on second thoughts, initially I called Kenny Tete, thinking there wasn't nothing in it with the hair pull. The more and more you look at it, the more worse and worse again. I mean, there really is a case actually. So what Semenyo does, he doesn't complain, Semenyo, and maybe there's a little bit of injustice there. He just doesn't complain. If he complains and goes screaming towards the referee, he might get a penalty or something, and Tete might get himself sent off with a hair pull. I mean, in real time it looked like nothing, and on the initial replays it looked like nothing, but the more and more you see it, the worse and worse it gets. I wouldn't be surprised if fans across social media watching this fixture will be speaking about that one. Something to potentially check at half-time. Don't forget that Sunderland against Liverpool have just kicked off as well. Don't go anywhere though, because of course we will have second half coverage of this fixture, Manchester City versus Fulham, once it does get underway in about a minute's time, so 2 minutes at a time. Added on, there's a free kick for Fulham just on the halfway line. Harry Wilson pumping his ball forward towards where Andersen is, as he's gone towards Chukwueze, keeping possession quite nicely, and he's launched that one out of play for a City goal kick. I really think that sums up Samuel Chukwueze's first half so far. He did well to bring it down under control, but he's just lashed his left foot at it, and it's trickled out of play. I mean, it's an awful bit of play, to be so honest with you there, by the Nigerian, who's been struggling out there, like a lot of the Fulham squad. Like I say, up until minute 24, they were doing well to keep themselves in the contest. Now they find themselves 3 goals down, but never write them off, never say never. Might find their way back into the contest, potentially with a goal early on in the second half. I think they've got to try and do that. They've got to try and take a bit more of a stronger approach into bit more of an attacking approach into this second half, as Bernardo does have the ball at his feet. Paulzini does mark the end of what has been a thoroughly entertaining first half and a very positive first half for Pep Guardiola's side as well. Antoine Semenyo got the scoring underway on minute 24 after pouncing on a Sander Berg mistake, converting home from close range. And then he turned provider. Lovely bit of hold-up play after a counter-attacking move. Ball played in towards Nico O'Reilly, who had 2 goals and goal before he got himself on the score sheet. Lovely little lift over the top of Bernd Leno to make it 2-0. Then 9 minutes later, Erling Haaland with one of his instinctive striker finishes, burying it in towards the bottom right corner. And that's all she wrote at half-time. Man City 3, Fulham 0. Quickly run you through what else has happened so far in the Premier League this evening. Aston Villa are goalless against Brighton and Hove Albion 0-0 in that contest, and also 0-0 at the City ground between Nottingham Forest and Wolverhampton Wanderers. And the former Wolves man, Jürgen Strand-Larsen, has got himself a couple of goals against Burnley for Crystal Palace, who are still in action in that game. They kicked off 10 minutes late because there was a lot of traffic around Selhurst Park, and Sunderland have just kicked off at the Stadium of Light against Liverpool as well, 0-0 in that contest. Join me again in about 10 minutes time or so for kick-off of the second half, in about 15 minutes time between Man City and Fulham. But half-time then, and it's all going to plan for Pep Guardiola's side. Half-time, Man City 3, Fulham 0.
Well, welcome back to the Etihad Stadium. Live audio coverage here of Manchester City against Fulham. 3-0 to the good for the home side. Goals coming from Antoine Semenyo, Nico O'Reilly and Erling Haaland getting himself on the score sheet to really bolster his chances for the Golden Boot. As things stand, City will be going 3 points behind Arsenal, who play tomorrow away to Brentford at the G-Tech Community Stadium. It's been relatively routine, hasn't it, so far for Pep Guardiola's side. They've been far the better side from minute 24 onwards, really showing their class and talent. Semenyo with an instinctive little finish, pouncing on a Sandberg mistake in the box to convert home from close range, and then he linked up nicely with Nico O'Reilly, who did a lovely little looping effort over Bernd Leno, and Erling Haaland getting himself on the score sheet 6 minutes before added time. Lovely little finish into the bottom right corner, buried it with his stronger left foot, and it means that Marco Silva's side have got a lot to do in this second half. Elsewhere in the Premier League, Aston Villa 0, Brighton 0. There's been a record in the game though. James Milner replaced Carlos Baleba during the contest, which means he has tied Gareth Barry for 653 appearances in the Premier League. He's now holding the joint most with that record. Nottingham Forest, the goalless against Wolverhampton Wanderers, 0-0. And as we headed into the break of this coverage, I said Crystal Palace were 2-0 to the good, courtesy of Jürgen Strand Larsen getting himself a brace. But in absolute chaos at Selhurst Park, with goals from Hannibal Mejbri, Jaden Anthony and a Jefferson Lerma, who's got a yellow card. He's now got an own goal as well. It's 3-2 to Burnley. Absolutely chaotic scenes there at Selhurst Park, and it's 16 minutes played at the Stadium of Light. Sunderland 0, Liverpool 0 in that contest. Let's quickly run you through them. The two sides in this game. Gianluigi Donnarumma is the man in goal. He's made a couple of half-decent saves so far in this contest. Mateus Nunes is out on that right-hand side with a back four with Ruben Diaz, Mark Gee and Ryan Aït-Nouri out left. Nico O'Reilly's making a lot of advancing runs forward in central midfield alongside Rodri and Bernardo Silva, who's the only City player to have received the yellow card so far in this game. And once Semenyo, Erling Haaland and Phil Foden are the men that leads the line. Bernd Leno is the man in goal for Fulham. He's been very busy so far in this contest. Sessegnon is on that left-hand side with Kenny Tete out right. Calvin Bassey and Joachim Andersen are the centre-half partnership. Andersen, who is also on a yellow card, as is Bernardo Silva. He got hit for his challenge on Erling Haaland. Counter-attacking move, which did lead to Nico O'Reilly's goal. Just went in a little bit too aggressively, did the Fulham captain. In front of them is Sandberg and Alex Iwobi, who's been the brightest spark for Marco Silva's side in this contest so far. Harry Wilson's out right. He's had a really good chance earlier, but it was an excellent save by Gianluigi Donnarumma. Smith-Rowe is down the middle, and Samuel Chukwueze is out left. Then Raul Jimenez is the man that does lead the line. Wouldn't be surprised though if we potentially see the introductions of Oscar Bob, potentially former Man City man, of course, a Norwegian international, just a youngster. Wouldn't be surprised if we see him be swapped for Chukwueze, maybe. We might see Nunez come on straight swap for Jimenez. Josh King potentially could be an option for Sandberg if they really want to go attacking Fulham. Of course, they do find themselves currently 12th in the Premier League table. As it stands, Brighton just behind them. But if they are able to get themselves a victory against Aston Villa, they will go above them on a goal difference. And in terms of that Crystal Palace result as well, Palace do find themselves picking up all 3 points. They'll go above Fulham, so Fulham could potentially be moving down to 14th by the end of tonight. As it stands, the results are still going their way. However, they'll be keeping half an eye on what else is happening. City just in the tunnel. Omar Mamouche is stripped and ready to palm on. Not seeing Erling Haaland just yet returning to the field of play. We'll give you confirmation about that substitution, but I believe it is Erling Haaland coming off and Omar Mamouche coming on. I mean, you can't really blame Pep Guardiola, can you? This game, you don't want to write it off, but it's basically done, isn't it? Because of how dominant they have been in the first half. Of course, Fulham could potentially mount a comeback. We've just seen it from Burnley. They were 2 goals behind, and now they're 3-2 up at half time. In terms of Man City's next games, they're at home against Salford City in the FA Cup, of course. Part of the class of '92, isn't it? Their side, and the next fixture in the league is against Newcastle United. Looking at football for that one before they travel to Ellen Road. So very much based in the northwest for a little bit, aren't they? Manchester City, and then travelling over to Yorkshire for Leeds United in a little bit, in a few games time. Kick off then here between Man City, between Fulham. Man City getting us underway, going from right to left in this second half as Foden trying to find a way past Sessegnon, but he is there to go and intervene. He can pop this ball forward towards where Jimenez is. Smith Rowe is trying to go give chase, but there is Gay to go and intervene. It's confirmation of that substitution then. Erling Haaland has vacated the field of play, and Omar Marmoush has come on. Here is Foden now, down the middle of the pitch. He's got a lot of room to operate in here. Has the Englishman driving forward. No real option in front of him, though. Over towards Ait Nouri, the Algerian, happy to go and take his time and roll this ball in towards where Foden is once more. Lovely little 1-2 between the two of them. Ait Nouri's ball in towards that penalty area. It's gone right across the 18-yard box. Sessegnon is there to go and pick up the loose ball. Nunez putting a bit of pressure on the former Tottenham Hotspur man. Sessegnon now trying to roll it in towards where Chukwueze is. Little ball back towards Iwobi with his long sleeves on, comes driving forward. Sanderberg does take over. Pressure from O'Reilly behind him. Berg in towards Chukwueze. Good little possession play here by Fulham. Iwobi switch of play out towards his right hand side with Harry Wilson. The Welshman brings it down quite nicely. Kenny Tete is getting for around here. Here is the Dutchman now, about 35 yards from that Donnarumma goal, attacking towards where these Fulham fans are based in this second half. As Marmoush is there to try and intervene. Smith Rowe does come away with the ball. Smith Rowe's effort in towards that near post is complete through a corner. Fulham feeling that they've got one, and they have, it's very, very tight. I think they have got this corner as well. Just joining us, listening to live audio coverage of what has been a very lively second half to begin with between Man City and Fulham. And Fulham have got the first corner of this second half. It's going to be Harry Wilson to put in the in-swing delivery potentially over this one. Iwobi has come over as well to give a different kind of option. As Sanderberg and Joachim Andersen are both there. As Wilson's ball in towards that far post. Donnarumma gets two solid fists on it. Chukwueze goes through on the volley. Really poor effort there by Chukwueze. Does retain possession though. Trying to chip one it towards that far post. Falling towards Bassi. He puts it back towards the face of goal. Tete wins the loose ball, but he does commit a foul in the process, and it is a free kick for Manchester City on the edge of their own penalty area. Portini just blowing up there. Over towards where Bernardo Silva is, and he's happy to retain possession for Manchester City. And slow the pace of this second half down, because we started like a house on fire. Here is Rodri once more, switching out towards Mark Guy. The Englishman happy to drive forward into a nice bit of space, cutting his onto that strong right foot of his on the halfway line now for Manchester City. So no changes from Fulham at half time, still keeping it as it is with Jimenez and Emil Smith Rowe trying to provide that little bit of a press where Chukwueze, Harry Wilson, Sanderberg and Alex Iwobi are making themselves be known in the middle of the park. Here is Ait Nouri then on this left hand side in towards the substitute Omar Marmoush. Back towards Rodri once more. Little flick over towards Ruben Diaz, and he can switch over towards Mateus Nunez, who has been a real bright spark on that right hand side, hasn't Mateus Nunez so far in this contest. Nouri, we have a fullback in possession now, towards where Nico O'Reilly is. He's got pressure behind him from Sanderberg. He's been forced out towards Nouri, and City happy to retain possession very, very nicely. So elsewhere in the Premier League, Aston Villa have got themselves back underway in the second half of their contest against Brighton Hove Albion. Desperate for a win, aren't they? Aston Villa, results did go in their favour yesterday evening with Manchester United dropping points against West Ham United, having to come from behind, didn't they? As a late equalising goal, they were really salvaged a point actually. 1-1 in that contest. Chelsea definitely did drop points, 2-0 to the good against Daniel Farke's Leeds United, and then 2 goals in a matter of 6 minutes saw Liam Rosenior's side only picking up a point at home. Leeds getting 4 points off of Chelsea this season. Here's Bernardo Silva rolling it back towards where Mark Guy, his former side, found themselves 3-2 behind against Burnley. Second half gets to get underway in that contest. Ryan Ait Nouri taking it down nicely on his chest. Back towards Gay, and Ruben Diaz does take over once more. The Portuguese driving forward here. Jimenez with a little bit of pressure behind him. Semenyo does take over quite nicely. In towards Mateus Nunez, and Foden trying to play it on towards Nunez, and it's all switched off here at the Fulham backline. Calvin Bassey was alert though, able to go and intervene, and Bernardo can pick up the loose ball. It's just switched off just for a moment. I think they thought Bernardo was potentially going to come and deal with it initially. Semenyo was there, they just came steaming in, and Bassey had to go and put in the initial little block. Ball played forward in towards Jimenez, in towards Chukwueze. Sanderberg does take over. The Norwegian now back towards Calvin Bassey, and the Nigerian happy to retain possession just for a moment. Here is Emil Smith-Rowe, and Kenny Tete does take over. This Man City press is just relentless. I mean, they're 3-0 to the good, and they never, ever take their foot off the gas. They are constantly putting on pressure against you. You've got to move the ball so quickly. Fulham have done so quite nicely here with Smith-Rowe. Chukwueze now taking over on this left-hand side. First time delivering towards that penalty area. Gay is there to go and intervene. He's picking up the loose ball is O'Reilly. Eventually taking over is Sessegnon. Chukwueze once again deep inside of Man City's half, about 30 yards from goal. Back towards where Iwobi is. Again, everything coming through him at the moment. Here is Sanderberg looking for an option towards his right-hand side, and he finds one. Kenny Tete now taking over, making the overlapping run past Harry Wilson, just drawing away Ryan Aït-Nouri. Sanderberg does take over once more. Here is Joachim Andersen in towards Calvin Bassey, and we're playing deep inside of Man City's half for a scarce time so far in this contest. Sessegnon, Iwobi does take over, trying to move this ball a little bit more quicker, with a bit more tenacity. Here is Harry Wilson now. Aït-Nouri comes over to pressure him. Tete does take over. The Dutchman back towards Joachim Andersen, only Fulham man on a yellow card at the moment. He's been forced all the way back towards Kenny Tete once more, and City starting to get their press alive a little bit more, and O'Reilly does bring down the Dutchman though on the halfway line. Tete just shoving Nico O'Reilly. He was delaying the restart. Bernardo Silva was complaining that it should be a free kick to Man City now for that little shove, but I think Tete's got all the right to try and move Nico O'Reilly out of the way. Here is Anderson once more. The Dane happy to retain possession just for a moment. Bassey in towards Sessegnon. The Englishman back towards Calvin Bassey once again. I'm surprised we didn't see any substitutions from Marco Silva at half time. I'd like to see Oscar Bob coming on potentially, just seeing how he gets on against his former side. I'm sure he'd love a goal. Here is Harry Wilson now on this right-hand side. Jimenez does pull wide in towards Smith-Rowe. A little bit more room for Fulham to operate in here. They're getting into more of a dangerous area. Sessegnon now whipping it towards that far post. Jimenez has got there, but his effort goes well over the top of the crossbar. The Mexican couldn't quite generate the contact that he wanted on the cross. It was a decent little ball in as well in towards that far post, and just arriving was Jimenez. It was Chukwueze's ball in, sorry. It was a little shove in the back actually of Ryan Aït-Nouri. That way would have counted. I think VAR would have intervened if the goal had gone in. It wasn't the best of contacts on the header by Brown. He's done so well, hasn't he, to recover from that horrific head injury he suffered, and got himself back to playing at the elite level. He really is doing a fabulous job, isn't he? Considering the circumstances that he found himself in, as Iwobi tries to find his way past Bernardo Silva. Sanderberg being in the challenge on Antoine Semenyo. Sanderberg's done really well just to nick the ball off the Ghanaian, and Sessegnon can take over in towards where Emil Smith-Rowe is. Here once more with Alex Iwobi, and Fulham enjoying the lion's share of possession so far in this second half. Happy to retain possession much better than what they were doing in the first half. Maybe that little half-time team talk by the manager Marco Silva has got a little bit more from them. Here is Emil Smith-Rowe then, in towards Harry Wilson, advancing towards a nice position here. Jimenez tries to take over, Ruben Diaz is there to go and intervene, and Aït-Nouri, and eventually Nico O'Reilly can get his foothold on the ball. Tete putting in the challenge, and eventually Iwobi can snap it away, but Paul Tierney not happy with a little bit of contact there from Tete on Nico O'Reilly, and will result in a Man City free kick. We are going to see another substitution from Manchester City. Danny Reinders is ready to come on. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him for Nico O'Reilly, potentially straight swap in midfield. Guardiola is currently getting absolutely rained down, and it's certainly got a lot heavier here in Manchester. I mean, it's not stopped raining in the UK, has it? It's going around, isn't it, that there hasn't not rained on one day of the entire year so far across the UK. And Manchester is certainly feeling the effects of it right now. Carlo Torre, the assistant manager for Pep Guardiola, is getting absolutely drenched too. Calvin Bassey trying to play his way out from the back here, just making a little loose ball, but Kenny Tete is there to go and intervene. Here is Smith Rowe trying to first time ball in towards the Dutchman, and that one does go out of play, and will be a City throw on over on this left-hand side. We are going to see the introduction of grinders in just a moment. We've already seen two opportunities for Guardiola to make the substitution, but hasn't done so far. Foden switching out towards his right-hand side with Matheus Nunes, bringing it down quite nicely, cutting inside towards that weaker left foot of his, in towards Bernardo Silva, loose ball past him, but does find the feet of Rodri, out towards Ryan Nuri, and Fulham set up in there 2 bangs of 4. Still no goals to report of so far throughout the second half of these contests in the Premier League. Still in the first half of Sunderland against Liverpool, still 0-0 in that one too. Rodri in towards Mark Guy, back towards where Gianluigi Donnarumma is, who has barely had to use his hands so far this evening, but when he has been called upon, he has made a couple of decent stops so far. Here is Mark Guy, once again with this left-hand side, rolling it in towards Omar Mamouche, bounce pass back towards Ryan Nuri, and the former Crystal Palace captain Mark Guy can take over. Here with Rodri once more, picking up the possession relatively deep, playing it short instead towards Phil Foden. He goes towards his England teammate Mark Guy. Again, for them setting that 4-4-2, they're not putting any kind of press on Man City, who are really enjoying all of this spell of possession. Mamouche, the Egyptian international, wanted to try and get a ball in behind there, couldn't quite find the passing lane, could Phil Foden. Guy trying to play one over the top towards his fellow January transfer Antoine Semenyo, couldn't quite do so. And Guy giving away possession cheaply towards Emil Smith-Rowe now, driving forward in towards Harry Wilson, cutting inside that left foot of his. Nuri puts in the challenge, and it's a really good challenge as well, getting Guy out of harm's way. It was a really nice little counter-attacking move by Fulham. Guy tried to bring it down. It was a good interception though by Smith-Rowe. Lovely weighted ball in towards Harry Wilson, but his touch just gave Nuri the opportunity to put in the challenge, and he makes contact with the ball and makes a lovely little interception as well. And I'll tell you what, gets Mark Guy and Man City out of harm's way. Here is Rodri now, playing it back towards where Ruben Diaz is. In towards Bernardo Silva. Sessegnon goes in on the Portuguese, but Ruben Diaz can't come away with it. Got Mark Guy towards his left-hand side, but Ruben Diaz happy to move this ball forward in towards Bernardo Silva once again. Advancing forward and relatively slow pace on this right-hand side. Switch of play though by Rodri in towards Ryan Nuri, taken down on the Algerian's chest. First time ball in towards where Omar Mamouche is, driving in towards the penalty area now. Mamouche cutting inside, falling in towards Phil Foden. Good effort. Good save though by Bernd Leno. Read it nicely there, the German. Got down very quickly and was able to smother on the ball. It was good play by Mamouche, just trying to cut inside, but eventually his touch was a little bit heavy. Fell towards Phil Foden quite favourably. He tried to guide it in towards the bottom right corner. He got a decent little bit of contact on it, but Bernd Leno was there to easily gather. Get possession back moving here for Fulham on this left-hand side with Sessegnon. He tries to play this ball down the line. Matheus Nunes brings it down in a rather unorthodox fashion, but does get possession back for Manchester City here with Phil Foden. Cutting inside towards Mark Guy, who's just made 1 or 2 errors so far throughout this contest. It nearly led to a goal, the last one, but he's got himself back playing once again. Certainly is a key signing, isn't he, for Pep Guardiola's side, and he's been so favourable of Mark Guy in the press, hasn't he? Interception here by Jimenez, and chance here for Fulham driving forward. Jimenez now back towards where Emil Smith-Rowe is, over here towards Chukwueze, trying to find a way past Matheus Nunes. He's been going towards Sander Berg. They've been forced to go backwards momentarily. Kenny Tete's got a lot of room to operate in, does the Dutchman. Only one option inside of the penalty area of Jimenez. Tete once more, eventually does swing it in towards that far post, which Chukwueze is trying to give chase. There's complaints for a foul in the back of Matheus Nunes, not going to be given. Mamouche puts in the challenge on Alex Iwobi, and it is going to be a free kick thrown over this side for Manchester City. We are going to see a triple substitution here for Fulham and a double change for Manchester City. So Bernardo Silva's day is done. It's going to be a straight swap for him in the middle of the park over there with Thierry Reinders. So the Portuguese, who is on a yellow card, his day is over just towards the just before the hour mark. So change there for the Portuguese for the Dutchman. We are going to see Kushner as well, coming on from the back. Mateus Nunez departing way. So Kushner, I imagine, will go over towards that right-hand side and play right back. Got to say, Mateus Nunez has played very, very well in this contest. So 2 straight swaps for Manchester City. And in terms of that triple change there for the away side, we are going to see Kevin coming on, who of course scored that ridiculously good goal in the City against Manchester United. Rodrigo Muniz as well will be coming on. So 3 changes making way. Jimenez, Chukwueze and Emil Smith-Rowe are coming off. Muniz, Kevin and Josh King. So straight swaps for both of these 2 sides. Fulham in their attacking outlets, Manchester City in their defensive and midfield positions. Just on the hour mark then, 5 substitutions to try and get a little bit more life into this contest. Here is Kenny Tete then driving down this right-hand side. Pressure behind him from one of them substitutes, Reinders. There is Marmoush putting in the challenge, but it will be a Fulham throw-in on this right-hand side. Kenny Tete back towards Joachim Andersen. So Kushinov is over on that right-hand side. Usually plays centre-half, doesn't he, for Manchester City. But with Ruben Diaz and Mark Guy already on the pitch, he's going to have to do a job out on this right-hand side. Josh King trying to bring this ball forward, but there is Mark Guy going over there to intervene, and he draws a free kick as well. Such a good play there by Mark Guy, winning possession back, drawing the foul, slowing possession down for Manchester City. If you're just joining us, you're listening to live audio coverage of Manchester City against Fulham. City 3 to the good, goals coming from Antoine Semenyo, Nico O'Reilly and Erling Haaland, who vacated the pitch on half-time for Omar Marmoush. Here is Joachim Andersen, who's the only player on the pitch now with a yellow card after Bernardo Silva was just substituted off. So, Bernardo Silva off, Reinders on, Mateus Nunez off, Kushinov on. From substitute, Chukwueze, Smith-Rowe, Jimenez off, Muniz, King and Kevin on. Taking over here is Sanderberg, driving forward on this left-hand side, playing it in towards Kevin, getting his first touch of this contest. Kevin now trying to play it in towards where Muniz is, but Mark Guy is there to go and intervene and put it into touch for a Fulham from the Brazilian over to get it playing quickly. Marco Silva playing his hand on the hour mark. He's got a few cards to play on the bench of his, and you've got to say he's played all the attacking options you'd imagine he'd make, maybe minus Oscar Bob, but potentially we could see him come on for Harry Wilson at some point. Here is Josh King then, the youngster, trying to find a way past the oncoming Kenny Reinders, who's played out on towards this left-hand side. City basically playing a 4-4-2 at this point. Long ball played over the top towards Kevin. Kushinov is there to go and intervene. He goes it back to Ruben Diaz and Gianluigi Donnarumma can take over towards Mark Guy, and despite the pressure that was coming in from black shirts, the light blues are having to retain possession just on the edge of their own penalty area here with the Spaniard Rodri. Mark Guy once more, switch of play out towards where Ruben Diaz is, and the Portuguese can drive this ball forward. It really is a 4-4-2 at this point. Kenny Reinders has come so far out left. There's basically a straight partnership up top of Antoine Semenyo and Omar Marmoush. Here is Semenyo now on this right-hand side. Can't quite find a way past Calvin Bessie. The challengers are coming flying in. O'Reilly does take over. Here with Rodri once more. Ryan Aït-Nouri picks up this ball on this far left-hand side, about 35 yards from Bernd Leno's goal. Aït-Nouri in towards Foden. Sanderberg puts in a little bit of pressure on the Englishman. Once again with Thierry Reinders, and Aït-Nouri can roll it into Rodri. Mark Guy, little bounce pass into Phil Foden. The Englishman Guy does take over the halfway line once again. It basically is a 4-4-2 at this point. Kushinov going into a bit more of an advanced position. O'Reilly coming deep to pick up this loose ball. Because where Thierry Reinders is playing, I mean, he's tucked inside. Maybe when they're out of possession, it's a 4-4-2. But they're still trying to occupy their fullbacks as high up the pitch as possible. Aït-Nouri and Kushinov is nearly playing right wing at this point. He's so high at the minute. Here is O'Reilly in towards Rodri. Lovely little ball there by Rodri into Phil Foden. Chance here for Man City. They've got numbers over here. Foden in towards Thierry Reinders, the Dutchman, cutting inside that stronger right foot of his. No real options on towards that right-hand flank though that he was cutting inside on. Kushinov had made his run, but he was covered off by 2 black shirts. Here once more with Ruben Diaz. O'Reilly does take over on the halfway line. The Portuguese Ruben Diaz in towards Phil Foden, and again City happy to retain possession. Kushinov, his loose ball is intervened by Kevin, but his little flick in towards Rodri as quite favourable, but Sandberg is there to go and interview. 25 minutes to go of this contest. City 3 to the good against Fulham. Goals from Antoine Semenyo, Nico O'Reilly and Erling Haaland is what separates these two sides. Fulham looking to try and get themselves back on the score sheet ASAP, mount some sort of comeback, or potentially, depending on how late the game goes, maybe a consolation, but give something for them fans that have travelled up from West London, something to go and shout home about. Here is Bernardo now, back towards where Joachim Andersen is, just on the edge of his own penalty area. No goals elsewhere to report about in the Premier League. To give you a little rundown, Aston Villa are drawing 0-0 against Brighton Hove Albion, as are Nottingham Forest against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Crystal Palace, who were 2-0 up, now find themselves 3-2 behind at the end of the first half. There's 3 quick goals from Burnley, from Hannibal Majri, Jane Anthony and Jefferson Lerma have put Scott Parker's side back in front for the only first time in that contest, and Sunderland are goalless against Liverpool. Calvin Bassey has just been brought down here by Phil Foden, and upon reflection, they potentially could see a red card here for Phil. I mean, it's a yellow card, but VAR, Neil Davis, we'll have a look at this one. I mean, it looked like nothing to begin with, but he's really, really high as Phil Foden. Calvin Bassey has got himself back to his feet. He's ready to carry on. VAR have had a little look at it and have brushed it off. I mean, oh my God, it's so high. He's gone in right on the back of Calvin Bassey's ankle. I mean, it's the strongest yellow card you're going to get because he's gone so high on him. And, I tell you what, Calvin Bassey is lucky to get away with not being properly hurt there. For me, it's a red card. I'm surprised VAR haven't given it. I mean, it's late, it's high, but nevertheless, our referee, they're agreeing with his on-field decision. Here is Kevin driving forward now. Cristiano forces the substitute back. Switch a play out towards where Harry Wilson is on this right-hand side, cutting his son towards that stronger left foot of his. Joachim Andersen does take over. Kenny Tete once more. Little reversible in towards Josh King, and he does win the corner for Fulham. Going to be taken over on this far right-hand side towards the opposite side, where their away supporters are based. I mean, we'll be looking at it back. Foden's challenge is stud showing as well. Bassey's having a little word with Paul Tierney now. He immediately dished out the yellow card. The linesman had a great view of it too, but hey, one for debate for me. Foden may consider himself a lucky boy. It's going to be the in-swing and delivery then of Harry Wilson in towards this penalty area. It's a loop, high ball in towards this far post. Calvin Bassey tries to retain possession against Semenyo. Semenyo showing his strength, but Calvin Bassey does come away with the ball. He's got no real option in front of him though. Semenyo putting in 1, 2, 3 challenges. Bassey feeling that there should be a free kick going his way, but not going to be getting that one. It will be a Man City throw on deep inside of their own half, as Bassey again continuing his protest, but hey, he's really been in the firing line just for a moment there. Initially the challenge that came in from Phil Foden. Now he's being absolutely battered by Antoine Semenyo. You'd almost think they've got it in from Calvin Bassey tonight. Kushinov over to go and resume play with this throw on then as the substitute launching this one down the line. Sessegnon tries to win the initial ball. Bassey does win the second ball, and Reinders picking up the loose ball, but eventually the Nigerian does take over. He can only put that one in touch again. City to get us back resumed over on this far right-hand side. We are going to see 2 more substitutions from City. Now take them up to their 5. Nico Gonzalez and Ryan Shirky are both stripped and ready to come on. I think Phil Foden will certainly be one of them departures. Pep Guardiola does not want to be getting anybody sent off in this game, and potentially we'll see Antoine Semenyo leaving the pitch as well. Rodriguez just tried to play a loose ball out towards Ryan Aït-Nouri, but he's got his pass all wrong. Tete is happy to get things back resumed. And Linders is just over there. Pep Guardiola's assistant running through the instructions. A little play there by Iwobi in towards Kevin. The Brazilian driving forward here now. Kevin trying to find a way past Kushinov. His ball goes in towards that penalty area. Here's Muniz tries to bring it down. Muniz's strike is a good effort there by the Brazilian. Well saved though by Gianluigi Donnarumma. Trying to clear their lines here are Manchester City. As eventually they do. Picked up though by Iwobi. Here is Kevin once more driving down the byline on this left hand side. Little bounce pass between him and Sessegnon as Kevin trying to find in towards Muniz as Gay does show his strength. And eventually Donnarumma can gather, but he did really well there, Muniz initially. It was a good little bit of feet by Kevin. roll it in towards where Muniz was. He took it down his chest, and I mean, it potentially was falling towards Sessegnon if Donnarumma was there or wasn't there to go and intervene. Could have been 3-1 Fulham, but the Italian, who's such a hard man to try and get past, is there for Man City. He's in possession now, just on the edge of his 6-yard box. 20 minutes to play of a very rainy evening here in Man City. Rather miserable evening, but it's not miserable at all for Pep Guardiola's side. They certainly enjoy their football so far today. Kenny Tete has gone in on Omar Marmoush, and there's just a few complaints potentially for a yellow card. I think it's going to be given for Kenny Tete, and then double substitution is unfolding now as Nuri has just come over to run through the tactics out on the tablet, and Phil Foden will be departing the field of play, as is Rodri. 2 solid performances by the pair of them. Foden not able to get himself on the score sheet tonight, but it's still a very, very good performance, as it was from Rodri as well. So again, them straight swaps. Nico Gonzalez is going to be coming in towards that holding midfield position, and Ryan Shirky will be going outright on what has been a very positive display from Phil Foden. Got himself absolutely drenched this evening, and hey, we'll be debating that red card, whether or not it was one. Nevertheless, he did get a yellow card, but he won't be seeing any more cards tonight. Ryan Shirky coming on towards his right hand side. I think we're going to see a potential change of shape maybe from Man City. We're just seeing a lot of things going through a tactics board. Maybe potentially experiment with something new with 20 minutes to go. They're in cruise control in this game. Here is Gay in towards Nuri, trying to drive down the line against Harry Wilson, retaining his feet as well. Semenyo again against Calvin Bassey, captivating battle between these two, but Bassey gets the better of it this time. Here is Kenny Tete, Sanderbo trying to keep possession, but there is Reinders to go and intervene. Here is Shirky, the substitute, getting his first touch of the game over towards Gay. We are going to see the introduction of Oscar Bob up against his former side. He'll probably get quite a nice reception, to be honest. Oscar Bob, there was no bad blood between him and Man City when they left, because he just wants game time, he just wants minutes, and with the number of just talisman they have in their front line, it's so hard to try and get yourself in towards that starting 11. Nevertheless, he has come on now. Harry Wilson getting a bit of an ovation from them away supporters, and there's a really nice touch actually from the Man City fans. Oscar Bob coming on, and he's not only got applause from his away supporters, but from his old fans as well, all standing towards their feet and giving the Norwegian his flowers. So real nice little touch there from the home supporters for Oscar Bob's very early return to the Etihad Stadium. Free kick over here on this left-hand side. Man City were going to play it short, but instead of going to whip it in towards this penalty area, it's about 35-40 yards out. Ryan Shirky has come over to just come and take this one. The Frenchman. He's got Mark Guy, Ruben Diaz and Nico O'Reilly making their presence be known towards the far post. He's up towards this far left-hand side, right near where Marco Silva's dugout is. They have gone short with a free kick towards Ryan Nuri. Here is Shirky now though, cutting inside that right foot of his, back towards Nuri. Switch of play towards Kushinov. He's got pressure behind him, and he's going to roll it back towards Donnarumma in goal, towards Pep Guardiola's frustrations. He feels that ball should have gone forward. Here is Kushinov once more, as Nico Gonzalez does take over. I'm quite surprised he didn't put the ball in towards the penalty area. You commit both centre-halves forward, and then you play the ball backwards. Doesn't really make sense, and I think that really summarises Guardiola's reaction. Nuri out wide left on this far left-hand side, deep inside of Fulham's half. Kenny Tete comes over to put a bit of a pressure on him, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does go into Paultini's book at some point. He's just come over to him and counted towards his fingers, saying 1, 2, 3, 4, no more for Kenny Tete. If he does do any more, he will be going into the referee's book. Here once more with Ruben Diaz, as Mark Guy does take over. Ryan Nuri on this far left-hand side, in towards Tini Reinders. He tries to play this loose ball into Nico Gonzalez, and eventually Ryan Shirky is over there to go and intervene. Once more with Ruben Diaz, just trying to advance forward here are Manchester City. Over once more with Ryan Shirky. It's so hard for Fulham to try and retain possession in this contest, or get themselves on the ball or anywhere near it Mark Gee once more with Ryan Aït-Nouri. And it's probably been about 2.5 minutes spell of just constant Man City possession. Eventually, Joachim Andersen trying to get his foothold on the ball and to save Fulham just for a moment. The flag is up. But I'll tell you what, that was a long spell of City possession. They've just found a way to see this game out. Typical style for Manchester City, isn't it? We've seen them do it so long throughout the years. Just happy to keep possession, see out games, and win their contest. Here is Muniz playing it in towards where the oncoming Sessegnon is. Picking up the loose ball with though is King. Here is Kevin, now driving forward on this left-hand side, trying to find a way past Cristiano. Here is Oscar Bob. Kevin trying to link up with him into the interception though, and eventually the foul committed by Kevin deep inside of Man City's half is going to result in a free kick for the home side. 50 minutes to play them of this contest. Still City 3 to the good. Goals from Antoine Semenyo getting his 13th for the season. Nico O'Reilly and Erling Haaland extending his gap as the league's top scorer. Still goalless between Aston Villa and Brighton Hove Albion. 0-0 in that game. 0-0 between Nottingham Forest and Wolverhampton Wanderers. Big game at the bottom of the table. Burnley finding themselves 3-2 to the good against Crystal Palace. Huge result there if Scott Parker's side can see that one over the line. Half-time between Sunderland and Liverpool, 0-0 in that contest. Here comes Oscar Bob then, driving forward on this right-hand side. He's got Josh King towards his right. He does use him. Here is King now cutting inside over towards Alex Iwobi. He's got Sessegnon out far left. Instead he uses Kenny Tete. Muniz tries to make a move in towards that penalty area. Back towards where Iwobi is instead. Anderson towards Calvin Bassey, heavily involved so far in this second half as a Nigerian. Back towards Ryan Sessegnon once more. And City set up in their 4-4-2, trying to make it hard for Fulham to break them down. Here is Tete, once again playing this ball down the line towards King. Aït-Nouri putting a bit of pressure on behind him. Aït-Nouri does get in the interception, and it will be a City throw-on over on this far right. It will be a Fulham throw-on over on this far right-hand side. Sorry, as Aït-Nouri has gone down just with a little bit of cramping both legs as Oscar Bob just making himself be known with his former teammate, making sure he's all stretched out and okay to carry on. Tete back towards Joachim Andersen once again. Of course, Joachim Andersen already on a yellow card. Kenny Tete walking on a bit of a tightrope at the minute. If he does any more fouls, he'll be going into Paul Tierney's book. Here is Sessegnon down now on this far left-hand side. Decent little run by him. Whipped in delivery in towards that penalty area. Cleared away though by Mark Gee. And it will be a Fulham throw over on this far left-hand side. Sessegnon to get play back resumed. Got to say though, Fulham really haven't gone into their shell in the second half. So Manchester City have only had one shot in the second half. Fulham to the 4. Of course, Man City have set in a little bit and really experimenting a little bit more with Reinders out left and Nico O'Reilly down the middle. Shirky playing a much more of a deeper role. Cristiano in right back. So experimenting a few things. Suppose you can when you're 3 goals to the good. Shirky now driving forward, trying to find a way past Sanderberg. He's got no real options in front of him, so he takes a little back heel off of Calvin Bassey's knee, and it will be a City throw-on over this far right-hand side. We are going to see another Fulham substitution. Harrison Reed is stripped and ready to come on. Of course, he did score that worldy goal not too long ago against Liverpool. And coming on in towards one of them holding midfield positions. I imagine for Sandberg, couldn't imagine it would be for Iwobi. Still need that bit more attacking outlet. Here is Gee then, trying to bring this ball forward here for Manchester City. Continued his run as well as Reinders comes driving forward, now making his run a little bit sideways as Gee. I think he will return towards his centre-half role. Omar Marmoush, who we've barely seen so far in this second half, back towards Aït-Nouri. Shirky once more, and here is Aït-Nouri once again. The Algerian back towards Nico Gonzalez, who's just filled in for a second here with Mark Gee, having to do that Spaniard's role, playing that holding midfield position. Here once more with Ruben Diaz as Fulham trying to get themselves close to the ball. Ruben Diaz again going in towards 25 yards of space. Force back here is Cristiano by Sessegnon, but taking over here is O'Reilly. Lovely little interchange between O'Reilly and Ruben Diaz. O'Reilly deep inside of Fulham's half now. Sessegnon trying to force him back. Goes down from the challenge of Sessegnon. Not going to buy the free kick though. And it is going to be a full throw over this far left-hand side. were initially going to make the change there. Fulham clearly did put a whistle towards his mouth to signal for the substitute, but Fulham keen to get playing quickly. Harrison Reed is just going to have to bide his time a little bit more before coming on the holding midfielder. Talking of holding midfielders, centre midfielders, James Milner has broken the record tonight in the Aston Villa versus Brighton game for most Premier League appearances, 653. Well, he's tied the record with Gareth Barry. Over here with Oscar Bob now, trying to drive forward past Gonzalez, but his little touch goes in towards Gay's feet, and Donnarumma can bring it out of his feet. Oh, just for a moment there from Donnarumma, slight little lapse of concentration. Tried to play the ball back towards Mark Gay. Oscar Bob read it, got the little touch in there, but to his benefit, it's just trickled out of play. Sander Berg's day is over as well. Harrison Reed will be coming on in that holding midfield position. As expected sub there by Marco Silva. Harrison Reed can get 10 minutes out in this contest. If we see more than 2 minutes out of time, to be honest, I'll be quite surprised. Man City just taking their time getting play back resumed here with Mark Gee. There's a couple of complaints from those in black shirts, feeling that they should hurry things up a little bit. Over here with Donnarumma then, popping one down this right-hand side towards Semenyo, but there is Calvin Bassey going there to intervene. Reed, his first touch of the game, in towards Kenny Tete, fending off the challenge coming in from his fellow Dutchman, Thierry Reinders. Gonzalez complaining for the free kick, not going to be getting it. Here is Kevin now on this far left-hand side, playing it in towards Sessegnon. Complete breakdown in communication between the two of them on that left-hand side, and Kushnov is there to intervene and pump it forward on that right-hand side. Bassey, once again into Alex Iwobi. He's got Joachim Andersen towards his far right-hand side, does use his skipper, takes it down on his chest, and the forward Crystal Palace man can drive this ball forward. Anderson now in towards Kenny Tete. Josh King tries to make an inverted lapping run on this right-hand side, but he opts back towards Joachim Andersen. I'm a Fulham supporter. I know, you know, it's been a really, really tough evening, but give them a goal. Give something for the fans to shout about that have made the long 4-hour trip up from West London to come and see their side play on a rather wet and miserable Wednesday evening in Manchester. As I said, coming into this game, they don't have a very good record as of late, of course, at the Etihad Stadium. Fulham are having a half-decent campaign, but results are still going their way as it stands, of course, with Brighton drawing against Aston Villa. Maybe not going their way, but Brighton still stay behind them. The result at Selhurst Park is very much going their way, with Burnley still 3-2 to the good. There's 15 minutes or so to go in that contest between the two of them. But just give them a goal, give them something to shout about. Of course, Gianluigi Donnarumma will be loving a clean sheet, so he'll be happy for things to really settle down as much as possible, because Bobby's driving forward here. Gonzalez does bring him down, and we are going to see yellow card here for the Spaniard. They're feeling there should be a free kick up the other end, but certainly is a yellow card in my eyes. I mean, it's just Kevin's gone driving forward out on this far left-hand side. Ruben Diaz, the skipper now, is over there complaining towards Paul Tierney. Omar Marmoush has stayed down. There's an initial challenge that came in from Oscar Bob, but there wasn't anything in it in my eyes, and neither did the referee. Tete played his ball in towards Kevin. The Brazilian came driving forward. Gonzalo was just seized him down, and for me, I think the referee's got it absolutely spot on. Nico Gonzalez, who did come on to replace Rodri, getting himself in towards the Pep Guardiola, complaining towards the fourth official, Tom Neild. But for me, I think the referee's got it absolutely spot on, and the result is a free kick in quite a dangerous position as well, about 25-30 yards out. Pep Guardiola has actually just picked up a yellow card for his complaint. A cheap yellow card maybe. Harrison Reed then is standing over it, it's a little bit further actually, about 35-40 yards out. Reed then to chip this one in towards this penalty area then. Chips it in towards this far post where Muniz is trying to give chase, but that is gone all the way through. It will be a City goal kick. Penny really for Marco Silva's thoughts. It's been a pretty disappointing display from his Fulham side. They've been relatively easily rolled over by Manchester City in the game for 22 minutes, then 3 goals in a matter of 15, and they've been struggling to try and get themselves back in it, to be totally honest with you. And with 6 minutes to go, that away end, which is still full. Credit to them away supporters that have made the trip up from West London, and it's been a tough evening for them to watch quite a few of the City fans are getting themselves out of the cold and wet rain. There's quite a few empty seats coming into this game. We've seen it across the Premier League, in fact, with a few other games that we saw at Stamford Bridge. Actually, there was one or two empty seats as well for that fixture against Leeds. It's just where it's got to this point in the season where it's midweek games, it's wet, it's raining, does put off supporters. But it's good to see. Still a very good turnout, nevertheless. Here is Kevin now, driving forward on this far left-hand side. Cristiano has come over to go and meet the Brazilian. He's made up some decent ground, though. Sessegnon putting it across the face of goal. King is there to go and meet it. He shows completing that it should be a corner after the block from Gaye, but referee Fulton, you had a very, very good view of it. Just even that King has put that ball wide, and it will be a City goal kick. We'll have a look again. And the referee's got it absolutely spot on. Initially, Gay got in the challenge. King just put past it wide. And it's going to be a City goal kick. 100% the correct decision there. So, all this means then is City will advance to 3 points behind Arsenal, who, of course, are in action tomorrow against Brentford in West London. In terms of City's upcoming games, it's Newcastle United in the Premier League. They're moving forward here with Antoine Semenyo, but it's just intervened and Josh King can bring it away. Semenyo just bringing down his man. Referee going to play advantage as King again now has been brought down by Ruben Diaz, but again the referee does play advantage. Played 2 good advantages here as Baltini. Kevin now up against Kushinov. Kevin just trying to find his way past the substitute. He's done well here as Kevin puts it in towards that penalty area. Cleared away though by Mark Gee, up in towards the air, and Shirky tries to bring this one down. Iwobi is there to go and intervene, and Sessegnon can play it in towards Fulham's brightest spot tonight, Alex Iwobi, but Shirky is there to go and give chase, and Gonzalez will move on to what this result will mean to Man City in just a moment. Here is Shirky. This game has just livened up a little bit in the last 45 seconds or a minute or so. There is Ruben Diaz once again here with Mark Gay out on his far left-hand side. Nuri does take over. Nuri is such a good player to have in possession because he can put his foothold on the ball and just get it at the pace that Guardiola wants to play. You can see why Nuri continues to play, and he's probably a player that just doesn't get the credit that he probably deserves. As Sessegnon just bringing down Antoine Semenyo, but again the referee happy to let play continue. Here is Reinders though, and City back in possession of the halfway line. So of course they've got Salford City coming up in the FA Cup, but if it's anything like their last fixture against Exeter City in the competition, then we'll potentially be seeing a bit of a hammering for Salford City out in League 2. But in terms of their league action, they've got Newcastle United at home in their next league game, then a trip to Ellen Road against Leeds United, and Nottingham Forest after that. So you'd fancy 3 out of 3, wouldn't you, for Manchester City, particularly in the games after Newcastle United, who were struggling to try and find form at the moment, but they did beat Tottenham Hotspur in their fixture yesterday evening. But even after Forest, there's West Ham United away from home and Crystal Palace, so fixtures really going in their way for Manchester City at the moment. They've got a bit of defensive work here to do by Gee. He puts it into touch, and it is going to be a Fulham throw on this left-hand side. Big goal at Villa Park. Tyrone Mings has just got himself on the score sheet. 1-0 in that game. Not good for Chelsea United or Liverpool fans, but a big, big goal for Unai Emery's side to try and secure that 3rd place, potentially still give chase to City and Arsenal. All Villa fans will say they're out of the title race, but every 3 points is absolutely valuable for them to try and stay in that spot for Champions League football. Strong challenge coming in from Kushinov, winning the ball off of Kevin, plus going to touch for a Fulham throw out on his far left-hand side. 2 minutes to play then of this contest. As for Fulham, for their next upcoming games, of course, it's an FA Cup trip to the Bastania against Stoke City in the Championship. Stoke still running relatively okay in the Championship. They're advancing forward here with Harrison Reed. Oscar Bob now taking over on this far right-hand side, down towards the byline. Bob's ball in towards that penalty area is intercepted though by Mark Gee. Challenge coming in from Josh King, and eventually Fulham do win the ball back here. Bob once more, but it's a good interception though by Ryan Nuri, and Shirky can bring this ball away for the home side. It was a decent little interception here now with Kevin. Gets the shot away, and he smashed it in towards the home end, and it will be a Man City goal kick, and it will be 3 defeats on the bounce now for Marco Silva's side. Losing against Manchester United 3-2, losing against Fulham 2-1. They failed to score in this contest. Manchester City 3, Fulham 0 in this game. The next game is away to Sunderland, who, of course, as I said earlier, they haven't lost at the Stadium of Light. They're currently drawing 0-0 against Liverpool, half-time in that contest. And after that, they welcome Tottenham Hotspur to Craven Cottage, and then West Ham United as well. Of course, Tottenham, who will probably have their new manager appointed by then. You'd imagine so by March 1st. They definitely will have a manager by March 1st, of course. And then West Ham United after that. So needed to try and get their form back, Fulham, and see if they can advance back up the table. Because like I said, they were having a little look at European football at one point, and now finding themselves in 12th position is a pretty view for the West Londoners, as the Wody has just been brought down. Antoine Semenyo. We've got 3 minutes of stoppage time at the end of this game, and it's given me an opportunity to try and pick out a man of the match. And for me, it's the man that's got himself a goal and an assist today. It's Antoine Semenyo. He's been absolutely fantastic in them front forward positions for Manchester City. He's settled into life so well since his move from the Vitality. And you can really see why they paid the big bucks for him. He's doing that role up top now, and such a key asset, isn't he, in Pep Guardiola's side? And he's my man of the match for today. Here is Alex Iwobi then, on the edge of his own penalty area, playing it in towards where Sessegnon is, driving forward now on this left-hand side, advancing into a really nice position is Ryan Sessegnon, making up some nice ground. Kushnov is over there to go and intervene. He's feeling that it should be a goal kick. It's some very, very good defending over there by Kushnov, and he does win the goal kick as well. It's high fives from Guy and Ruben Diaz. Gianluigi Donnarumma can get us back underway. So, quickly a rundown of what else has happened so far in the Premier League. Still playing, of course, in all of these contests. Aston Villa have just taken the lead about 6 minutes ago, courtesy from Tyrone Mings, 1-0 in that game. Nottingham Forest is still goalless against Wolverhampton Wanderers, 0-0. Palace, who were 2-0 up courtesy of Jorgen Strand Larsen getting himself a brace, find themselves 3-2 down. No goals so far in that second half, but goals from Hannibal and Jane Anthony and a Jefferson Lerma own goal is what gives Scott Parker's side the lead in that game. It's just gone full-time as well between Forest and Wolverhampton Wanderers, 0-0, and it's 0-0 between Sunderland and Liverpool. Just kicked off for the second half. We've got a minute to play here at the Etihad Stadium. City's 3, Fulham 0. It's been a fabulous display from Pep Guardiola's side. A real sign that they are very much in this title race, and they continue to put that pressure on Arsenal. 3-point gap now, and they've got the job to do tomorrow, Arsenal, when they travel to the G-Tech Community Stadium against Brentford. Here is Joachim Andersen then over on this right-hand side. 60 seconds to go of this contest for Pep Guardiola's side. Over here with Kevin, as Fulham looking to try and form one last chance. The Brazilian in towards Josh King. King with a turn and strike, and it's tipped over the top of the crossbar by Gianluigi Donnarumma for Fulham to have one last corner of this contest. King just with the effort on the stretch, straight down the throat of Gianluigi Donnarumma, who tipped that one over the top of the crossbar. Will be the last throw of the dice for Fulham, potentially to give them away supporters something to cheer about at the very end of this contest. Calvin Bassey has gone forward, having a little word with Muniz. Joachim Andersen is in there too. Reed's falling towards that penalty area. Falling towards King now, trying to stab it forwards, not once but twice. Eventually cleared away by Martin Guehi, and there is full time. They just survived that last little scare there, did Man City, to secure the clean sheet. And Donnarumma and that whole back line all giving themselves a little bit of a hug on what has been an absolutely fabulous display from Manchester City. Let's quickly run you through how that game did pan out. All the goals in the first half got started by Antoine Semenyo, pouncing on a mistake from Sandberg. It was a lovely little finish from close range to make it 1-0. Then 6 minutes later, Semenyo turned provider for Nico O'Reilly to loop one in towards the top right corner to make it 2-0. Then 9 minutes later, Erling Haaland showing off his instinctive finishing, burying one in towards the bottom right corner to make it Man City 3, Fulham 0. And then throughout this second half, they've just been showing their professional display, seeing out the contest and reducing the deficit to 3 points against Arsenal who do play tomorrow. Professional performance from Manchester City. Do hope you have enjoyed coverage of this one. Full time then here at the Etihad Stadium. Man City 3, Fulham 0.